Hello everyone, and thank you for watching. We are hoping that you're energized because we're about to interview Dave Grijalva, the co-founder of FitStar. So thanks for joining us, Dave.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So now with so many fitness apps out there, why should I use this tool other than the fact that I can hang out with Tony Gonzalez?
Well, that's pretty cool. It's a really unique product. FitStar is it's an interactive video-based personal trainer, basically, and so it's a lot like some other workouts in that there's you can kind of work out along with the video. But what's unique about FitStar is that it's actually custom tailored to you. So when you first join the product, we ask you a couple questions about where you are and where you want to go. We take you through a short assessment to sort of figure out kind of where your body is, and then from there, the software will actually generate custom workouts for you every time you show up, and it's based on your progress and sort of how you're doing, which is pretty unique.
Yeah, it's completely unique. And you guys recently did a complete new iteration on the app, FitStar 2.0. How did you evaluate and implement that user feedback as lead engineer, Dave?
Well, so 2.0, there was a bunch of things that we were doing. So we launched the product originally in June of last year on iPad only. It's a video product, and we were a really small team, so we wanted to focus on kind of where we felt we could best express the value of the product, and we liked the big screen on the iPad, and we liked some of the tools there. So we went to the iPad first, but we had, you can imagine the biggest piece of feedback we got over and over was, when is it coming to my iPhone? When is it coming to my iPhone? So, we launched that in June, and shortly after, Apple announced iOS 7 with a total, reskin of the product, and we started to look at that. Kind of felt like, we really liked what we had done, but it didn't really feel like it belongs in the platform anymore, and we wanted to have kind of a best-in-class experience, and something that totally feels out of place. This doesn't really match that. So we knew we were going to have to do some updates to the visuals to make it fit on what Apple's doing at iOS 7. And we also knew that we wanted to go on the iPhone. We felt like if we were going to sort of do a whole teardown of the UI, it's a good time to basically kind of add in support for that other platform. So that was the 2.0 project. We kind of addressed it from, we did that, the company at the time, I think we had, one designer and 2 client engineers. So with that size of a team, you kind of have to figure out what is the scope of what you can do. And we did it in about 2.5 months, which is a pretty big app to completely redo in 2.5 months. But we felt like it was going to be important because we wanted to sort of stay relevant. And we also, our designer's really talented and came up with a really brilliant design for the product.
How do you translate ideas to your engineering team? How do you guys communicate about it?
Well, we talk a lot. We use the whiteboards. We're big fans of whiteboards. The whole company is, there's 15 people, not including contractors and such. And we're all basically kind of in a room together most of the day. So a lot of it just kind of happens serendipitously. We'll walk over and sit and talk together, grab a room, do some stuff on the whiteboard. We just launched our sort of second generation of the actual progression algorithm that powers the personalized workouts. And that was, a lot of time on the big whiteboard. So we have the whiteboards in the office, but there's a whole wall of the office that's just a big glass whiteboard. And we spend a lot of time there kind of in a group, sort of like product and design and engineering, everyone kind of like going through whatever it is that we're working on, trying to figure out the best way to do it.
So Jenna and I talk a lot with a lot of business development and designers, but we don't get the chance to sit down with engineers too often. So we want to know what some of the biggest misconceptions are about engineering.
Wow. I don't even know where to begin with that. What are some of the conceptions about engineering? The biggest ones, I think that people don't often understand that engineering is a creative practice. It's not nearly as obviously creative as design, but if you ask a bunch of engineers, that they'll feel like that's pretty obvious. There's never one way to solve a problem. There's thousands of ways to solve a problem, and solving a problem with software in a way that is easy to read when you come back to it, and has good runtime performance, it doesn't take forever to implement, and makes a lot of sense in the context of what you're trying to do is it's a hard thing. And the really great engineers are the ones that sort of grasp all of those different things. But it is a lot about creation.
Now, what separates a great engineering culture from a good one?
Um, Transparency, I think, is a big thing. People being sort of open and sharing work and having a good feedback cycle for how to help each other improve and how to show off great work and how to improve less great work.
Okay.
The biggest thing is sort of the understanding of why, right? This could be better here, but why? Like, if you could help someone sort of learn that, and so they bridge the gap in understanding, then that's a place where you can really get to a great culture.
Something that's been coming up in a lot of our conversations recently, Dave, about applications is sometimes the best thing you can do is remove features. Because the simpler the app, the happier the user. How do you guys keep that simple mentality, especially when you have so much going on in FitStar?
Is a constant trade-off, right? It's all about trade-offs. Whether that's in product design, engineering, or even in business development, right? Trying to find the sort of ideal final result. We do a lot of experimentation. We build a lot of stuff that we don't ship. We only really want to ship the stuff that we feel like is great. And we have a lot of ideas that sound great and don't always turn out to be that way. And having the editorial process inside the company versus without, makes a big difference, right? You can ship a bunch of stuff and then see how users react to it. And that's a totally valid way to do it, depending on kind of what your business is. And we do some experimentation in the wild, but we really like to, feel like we're going to be proud of all the work that we ship. In terms of like sort of keeping the feature set minimum, it's a slippery slope, right? You kind of have like, if we do this, then we have to do these other things to power this thing. And so often you end up sort of cutting big things. We have a couple really cool big features that we just may never launch or may not launch for a long time because we want to make sure that they're not going to be damaging to the experience or make us unable, be difficult to maintain. And one of the tricks is once you've given the users a feature, it's really hard to take it away because there you have some subset of users that will latch onto that feature and be really upset with you for removing it. So we try to make sure that we're comfortable with what we're shipping before we send it out.
That's a good sign, though. So as a product grows, so does the operational burden per engineer. So kind of touching on the simplicity, what's the key to pushing relentlessly towards automation?
Well, there are some things that are very obvious and easy to automate, and other things that are much harder problems, right? Like we've pretty much gotten to the place with deployment where there's a lot of great automation tools for deployment, so you probably shouldn't be doing that manually. The biggest thing is discipline. It takes, it may take, 3 minutes to get a server ready to go from one place to the next stage. If you're doing an upgrade, for example, if you do it manually, and it may take 2 hours to build that into the automation. And if you're not disciplined about that and you kind of you're like, I'll just do it this time and the next time I'll automate it, you end up in this place where like your stuff isn't all in the same place. And so we try to be very disciplined about automation on the things that are obvious and easy to do, even if it takes a little bit more time. Actually, when we started the company, the very first code I wrote was automated deployment code before we even started getting into what the product was going to be. Because I've worked at places where there isn't good discipline there, and it becomes really painful as things grow. And typically, especially with servers, the pain, like the acute pain, is like when something is wrong. And the last thing you want is for something to be wrong and your users to not be able to access your product. And that's the time when you figure out that like you messed up something on deployment, or you can't figure out the guide on how to do it manually. Like that's where you really want that automation, so you have something that you trust.
So between yoga guru Tara Stiles and NFL superstar Tony Gonzalez, you guys are working with a lot of high status individuals. What piece of advice can you give to startup founders who are looking to make those types of partnerships?
Oh my gosh. Mike is the one who really got us the intros to those, and he's super, super well connected. I think just generally being nice it goes a long way. That sort of builds up over time, and eventually you have a lot of, it's easy to reach out to people because they like you. When we're super lucky with both of them. Both Tony and Tara are incredibly nice people. And even though they've accomplished spectacular things in their careers, are pretty kind of low ego. And that's one of the things that I would say, like, you can get a deal done with a celebrity who's going to become a nightmare for you. and you should really, even if you're the little company trying to go after the big fish, like, you should be selective, because, you know, if you do it right and if you pick the right people, you're going to have a great partner, and we have some great partners. And if you pick people who are kind of just in it for the paycheck and don't really understand what it means to build something, then it's going to cause you pain forever, or at least, you know, as long as that relationship lasts.
And you also have partnerships with Jawbone. Are you planning on any more partnerships with these types of fitness tools? Hopefully Google Glass, please. That'd be awesome.
We have one of those in the office that we've tinkered with a little bit. It's
no
cool.
way.
We do a lot of experiments. We have actually really good relationships with a lot of companies in the space, both in sort of, you know, the wearable space and in sort of the data thing. If you look at the freestyle area of FitStar, you'll see Strava in there. You'll see Tough Mudder in there. You know, we did a big integration with MyFitnessPal recently. That was one of the big ones that our users had asked for. You know, we don't really see any of these companies as competitors. What we're doing is pretty different. And we like, you know, like, they're all really great people. You know, we just the other day had a bunch of people from Strava in the office, and we did a workout Wednesday together. So it's cool. Like, we're all kind of learning. It's a new space, and we're all learning, and it's great to kind of build those relationships where you can start to share information and make friends and grow together.
There's not even competition to work out harder than they are when they're in the office.
There's definitely that. I mean, we did I can't remember when it was. We did a freestyle session with Strava a few months back, and we definitely were like, you know, had to level up. We were like, okay, well, because we actually, when we did that one, the first people to see it were them. We took it over to their office, and we did a workout Wednesday at their office, and we definitely all showed up for that one. Everyone was working hard because nobody wanted to be shown by the Strava guys. It's pretty fun. It's friendly competition.
I think Chase and I want to just come and we'll be the testers for FitStar. So we'll just hang out and we'll try all the new workouts.
Yeah,
sure. Come on by on Wednesday.
So I want to talk to you guys for a second about monetization, because you started out from day one with a 4 revenue model. But what's different about you guys is you have a tremendously successful 10% conversion rate versus, 2% in the gaming community. Although everyone can use the free part, and the free part of FitStar is great, how are you getting them to pay the monthly fee? How are you making it irresistible without pushing it?
We're still learning, for sure. I have some experience in the free-to-play games space, and it's definitely tough. And this is sort of, my first fitness product I've ever worked on, so we're still kind of learning about what users want. We set out to build a business that the end user pays for. And there's a lot of advantages to that. One is it's pretty obvious what your business model is, but more importantly, like, if your customer, your end user isn't paying, then they're probably the product as much as they are the customer, right? Like, if you're an advertising model, then you have to sort of build a business to satisfy advertisers. And we wanted to make something that was for people and was just a great product to use. And sort of one of the most honest ways to do that is to say, okay, we're going to make a for pay product, and if you like it, pay for it, and if you don't, then don't. And it keeps us focused on what the users want. In terms of like getting the conversion, I think we're really proud of the product that we made. We think people see a lot of value in it. If you compare the cost of FitStar to the cost of a personal trainer, or even the cost of a gym membership,
it's a huge difference.
It's a dramatically better deal. If users try the product and they like it and they see that value, I think they're likely to be willing to pay for it.
Well, great. I'm willing to pay for Tony. So, and now, being that you're on the technical side of things, I want to talk to you about your expectations for non-technical co-founders. What kind of value do they have to provide in order to attract rockstar engineers if they don't have credentials from AOL, Dig, or EA?
Yeah, the biggest thing I think is the vision. A lot of the great engineers can kind of go work anywhere they want, and they're going to pick the place where they feel the most connection. Not ever having been a non-technical co-founder, I don't really know. I think it's really important when you're sort of building your founding team to make sure that there's a good sort of the Venn diagram of skills is really good. Mike, my co-founder, is phenomenal. A lot of stuff that I couldn't even really begin to figure out how to do. And I think I think if we try to get him writing code, it wouldn't be really the best decision. So we definitely have sort of our domains where we are experts, and other places where we help each other. And the biggest thing about a co-founder relationship is that it is much more of a relationship than I would have expected in the beginning. We spend a ton of time together. Starting a company is tiring and hard and emotional, and you want to have someone that you feel like is a partner, regardless of what their skill set is. In terms of trying to recruit top talent, it's hard. There's a lot. Especially in San Francisco, there's a lot of companies here all kind of going after the same few engineers, and I think a lot of it comes down to personality and to the mission, right? If you're someone that somebody wants to work with, and you're selling a vision that is really compelling to somebody, then that's the only way that a small startup is going to be able to, bring top talent away from the places where they can write much bigger paychecks.
Absolutely. And one of your investors, Dave, is Roger McNamee, who we recently had on the show. What are you learning from your advisors?
We have actually a phenomenal pool of advisors. We have big name investors like Roger, and kind of people all over the space in fitness and in people from games who understand mobile, and we spend a lot of time with them. Definitely, it's one of the places where I think Mike really kind of led the path for me. I didn't really understand the value of having a good pool of advisors kind of when we started the company, and kind of after being able to spend time with these people and always having someone who's been there before to ask questions of when we run into a situation where we're not really sure what to do. We don't always take their advice, but we like to hear it. People help, and they help to push us. We push ourselves pretty hard, but there are places where it's our advisors and our investors who will push us and say, you need to spend more time over here or focus on this thing because of for these reasons, and we like that. We really value those partners.
What about Google Ventures? Have you guys done a design sprint yet?
We've done a few. We love those guys. That's they have that thing, the design sprint thing that they have going on is really valuable. I mean, Google is in many ways been one of our sort of most value add investors in terms of things outside of the obvious. They put on great events, not just those sprints, but also great events where they get groups of people together. It's not often I get to sit in a room with a whole bunch of other CTOs and sort of talk about what that job is like. Actually, Trinity, our the lead on our A, also has been really helpful with that. But we've done the Google Design Sprint, and it's a great tool. And I wish there were more tools like it in other disciplines, because I'm not a designer, and neither is Mike. That design sprint is really helpful at helping you to solve an acute problem. We went through our onboarding funnel with them, and they helped us to kind of improve that and make it a more fun experience for the user. But at the same time, they also helped to teach us about the process that we can go through, and kind of gave us this framework that we can use when we're trying to solve a hard problem. So next time, if they're not available, we can do that with our own people, designers and other people who have good ideas.
So what would you say, if in light of problem solving, is the best piece of advice you've taken from that you guys use at a daily basis at your headquarters?
The design sprint specifically?
Yeah, you were saying it really helps solve acute problems. Is there one thing that you guys constantly keep in mind at FitStar just on a day-to-day basis to solve problems?
Well, they gave us this, they call it the time timer. It's a big clock, and you set a time, and it's a really, really useful way to drive a meeting, because you can put, here's the clock. The clock is ticking. We have this much time to get through the thing. That was one. But no, it's there's a framework they have there that that's collaborative and it gives you basically sort of step-by-step instructions on how you can work through a problem, right? And it's there are both parts where you kind of break off and kind of work on your own stuff and bring ideas back, and other parts where you're working together. But it's this, if you sort of follow the steps, there's like very clear, like, this is how we're going to define the problem to make sure everyone understands it. This is how we're going to, talk about what we're trying to solve. This is how we're going to start to kind of create a lot of ideas, and this is how we're going to bring those ideas back together. And then decide as a group which of those ideas we're going to implement. And then also, this is how we're going to test those solutions. And, we've used those internally for design projects that we've done. We even use them when we work on our like mission and value statements, which is an entirely different discipline, right? Like, that's sort of a totally different thing, but we use a lot of those same approaches because they're just useful tools for creative problem solving. It's a framework for doing that.
As an engineer, is that Google Timer actually helpful to you, though? Because one of the most common arguments I hear is that good code needs time.
Well, I mean, some things should be time constrained, and some things definitely you need to be able to focus. We definitely try to reduce the amount of time we spend in meetings so that people can focus on making. There's a great article, I don't remember who wrote it, but about maker time versus manager time, and that's something we try to really be aware of. Let people go heads down and don't disrupt them, because if you're in the middle of solving a really gnarly problem and someone comes and taps you on the shoulder, it can cost you an hour in terms of just sort of getting back into the zone. And so that means that we try to be very disciplined about how we use meetings. We try to keep them concise, try to keep them at the sort of minimum effective frequency, and also try to group them together so that we don't have a day that's totally broken up.
Awesome. So before we close and we tell everyone how they can get on FitStar, Dave, I want to know what the most important message you want your users to know about health is.
The biggest thing about it is you got to show up. We have a feature called Challenges in the app where you can actually challenge a friend to like whoever does the most sessions in a month, and there's a few other ones, and none of those challenges are about achievement. They're all about participation. Because in truth, like, there's a lot of ideas about the best way to get in shape, and the science is still developing. But the thing that is absolutely clear is you've got to show up, and just pick a thing, whatever works for you, whether it's FitStar or something else, and do it consistently, and that's going to be the best way to get where you want to go.
Great. So for the people who are going to choose FitStar, how can they get on the app?
Well, you can get it from the App Store. You can search for FitStar. You can go to fitstar.com, and we'll happily link you over to the App Store.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Dave.
Yeah, thank you.